Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Follow Him Favorites. John and I are sharing a single story to go with each week's Come Follow Me lesson. John, we're in the book of Moroni, which you have wrote a book on.
I did.
Moroni, chapters 1 through 6. So since you wrote the book on this, well, Moroni might say he wrote the book on this. Tell me what story you had in mind.
Well, I have a beautiful story about the sacrament, and I actually heard it at a CES symposium years ago. They used to give you cassette tapes for those. And it was Elder Gerald Lund, also Brother Gerald Lund, who wrote the Work in the Glory series. He said he had given a talk one time, and somebody afterwards stopped him and said, I want you to read this magazine article. It's about the atonement. He said, okay. He got this magazine, and it was called Private Practice. It was a magazine for doctors. And it was about rock climbing. And he thought, what in the world does rock climbing have to do with doctors, first of all, and with the atonement? Maybe that's what doctors do when they can't get a tea time. They go rock climbing. But he said, I'm reading this article. It's about belaying. And he said, belaying is a system of climbing where two guys climb and you're attached to a partner. And you go up to a certain height. You pound some instruments into the crevices of the rock so that they can hold not only your weight, but the weight of your partner. And then you look down and you say, you're on belay. And I remember hearing belay from Star Trek, belay that order, which stop that or something. So I thought, I think a belay is a stop or something. And he said that that's how they would ascend the mountain. One would climb and then stop and say, you're on belay. The other guy would climb. But somebody was always anchored to the rock and attached to each other so they could stop them if they fell.
John, I got to tell you, this is not something I could do.
Pretty trusting.
Yeah.
He said that the rock climber that they interviewed was named Zenskush, like C-Z-E-N-S Kush. Some Zenskush was his name. Zenskush, when they interviewed him, he said, some of my best and worst experiences in rock climbing have been while belaying. He said, one time I slipped. I started to fall. It was a sheer rock face. I'm going down pretty fast. I ripped 3 supports, my belay supports, out of the rock. I started to drag my partner. And he said, my partner saved me with the strength of his outstretched arms, just holding on to the rock. And he said he stopped me. I was upside down about 10 feet above the ground, just poof, like that. He was so funny, this Zenskush, this man. He said, how do you respond to somebody who just saved your life? He said, you give him a new climbing rope for Christmas? And then listen to this, Hank. This is where you'll hear the sacrament in there. He said, no, you just remember him. You always remember him. You never forget him. And that's when Brother Lund said, okay, I see why this is talking about the atonement and the sacrament. How do you respond to someone who saved your life with the strength of his arms? You always remember him. You never forget him. Sometimes when I hear the priest say that, and always remember him, I think of someone who saved us from the fall.
Yeah. From the fall.
From the fall, right? See how I worked that in there?
Yeah. John, isn't always remember him or remember him the only promise that's made in both sacrament prayers?
Yeah, the word remember and remembrance is in both of those. We've talked about this before, but President Kimball famously said, when you look in the dictionary for the most important word, do you know what it is? He said it could be remember. If you want a fun experience, watch for the remembers and the forgets in the Book of Mormon next time you go through.
Yeah, remember to remember. I love it. That story gives me the...
You don't want to go belaying anytime soon?
I will keep my feet on the ground. I just feel like being in the air is for the birds. It sounds scary to me. Well, we hope you'll join us on our full podcast. It's called Follow Him. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. We're with Dr. Shalise Adams this week. She's an audiologist, John, and she talks to us about the ear and hearing loss and how to get your hearing back. And she relates that to wonderful lessons in these chapters. So come join us over there and then come back next week. We'll do another Follow Him favorite.